write absolute value equations and inequalities from the graph. So instead of taking the equation or inequality and graphing it, we're going to take it off the graph and write it. So we might need to remember what the form looks like. That was that flappy foldable that we did. The flappy foldable says y equals a times the absolute value of x plus or minus h plus or minus k. So that's going to be the form we put it into. We can reference those flaps as necessary so we know what goes where. If I look at this first graph, I can see immediately I have what? I've got a dotted line, and I also have some shading. So that means I'm going to be dealing with an equation or an inequality. Inequality. So since it's a dotted line, what are my options? Either less than or greater than. Which one is it if my shading is above? It's greater than. So this is going to be y is greater than something. Let's fill in our blanks over here, and then maybe that'll help us. Well, what's our slope, what's our vertex, and what's our orientation? The easiest one is? Okay, vertex. What's my vertex? 0, negative 1. Good. Orientation? Good. It's just the way it's facing. And then to find my slope, go to your vertex, and I need to go the next clean point, right? So I go down how many? 3 and over 1. So my slope is a negative 3. Do I have to put it over 1? No, because it's understood. So let's plug this in. What comes after the symbol? Negative 3. The A comes after the symbol. And then inside my absolute value bars, I need to have x plus or minus h. So what is my h? My h is 0 because it's the x value of the vertex. So do I need to put anything in here with the x? No. Nope. I can leave it just like that. 3, absolute value of x. And then my k is my y value of the vertex, so it should be minus 1. And that inequality is written. All right, continuing down, what do I notice about this graph? What kind of line? Solid line, and there's no shading. So I know this is going to be an equation. Let's write our slope. What's our slope? Start at the vertex, and you go up 1 and over 2. So my slope is 1/2. My vertex is sitting at 2, 3. And my orientation is up. So that tells me my slope should be positive. Okay, so y equals, what is my A? 1/2 times the absolute value of x plus or minus. Minus, because it's positive here, I've got to do the opposite. So x minus 2 plus or minus plus 3. H and K. H is always doing the opposite. All right, here we go. What do I notice? I notice it has what kind of line? Broken line and shading above. So if I'm shading above with a broken line, what am I going to do? Greater than. So y is going to be greater than. Well, what's my orientation? Up, so that means my slope is positive. Vertex is at 4, 0, and my slope is going to be up 1, 2, 3. I got to go all the way up 4. Would you agree? Yes. Up 4 and over 1, 2, 3. Make sure you're always finding that clean point where you've got the intersection. So let's write it. Y is greater than, what's A? 4/3 times x plus or minus. Minus, always do the opposite. Minus 4, oh, that was a parenthesis. I need a bar. And then plus or minus? It's just 0, right? So do I need to put it? Not necessarily, but if I did, it would look like this, plus 0. But I do not have to. Since the k is a 0, I can show it just as missing. Questions? Keep going. Orientation. Down. So my a is going to be negative. What is my slope? If I start at the vertex, I have to go down 1 and over 1. So what's my slope? -1. Questions? Vertex? -2, -2. What kind of line? Solid. Shading? What's my, if I'm shading down with a solid line, then its y is going to be less than or equal to. And if I can't remember, where do I look? In your spiral under the y equals flap. Under the y equals flap, it tells me all the different symbols and what they go with. All right, what's my a? Do I have to put it? I don't have to, but I do have to put my negative sign. Absolute value of x plus or minus? Plus, because you always do the opposite, plus what? 2 plus or minus? Minus 2. Last two, you want to try them on your own? And then we'll check them? Or you want to do one more together? You want to do the last one together? Okay, so will you do this one? Do the one before it by yourself, and then we'll check it. What did you notice about this graph? It's the parent function. The vertex is 0, 0. The slope is 1. It's facing up. This is the parent function for absolute value. Questions for me on that? Okay, if we look at this last one, I can see my vertex is here. So that's going to be at -1, 2, 3, -3, +3. It's oriented up. I'm shading below a broken line. So I know it's going to be y is less than. My slope is going to be up 1 and over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my slope is 1/5. Questions for me so far? So y is less than 1/5 times the absolute value of x plus 3 plus 3. Go ahead and glue this in.